Hello there, Internet. Aaron Corbett here from the Cool Story Show, joined by my extremely handsome friend, Dave Meyer.
Hey, everyone.
Today we're back again talking about who? This episode was Robot of Sherwood.
And as always, spoilers. Please, if you haven't seen this episode, go watch it. Or don't listen anymore because we've already watched it and we're going to tell you about it.
It's fucking awesome. Dave, opening thoughts. What'd you think?
I love this episode personally. I thought it was one of the best episodes that they've done so far. And I know we've had some cool stuff with Into the Dalek and, what was it, Deep Breath?
It was Deep Breath. Into the Dalek was episode 1, 2.
But I just love this because this is kind of classic Doctor Who, how you can take something like science fiction and kind of old fantasy and just meld them together in perfect harmony. And that's what we had with Robin Hood coming in for this episode.
Fantastic episode. Basically, The Doctor asks Clara, we can go anywhere in time and space. Where do you want to go? She says, I want to go to see Robin Hood. He
obliges.
Well, he's against it pretty much because he doesn't think Robin Hood is real. And anyway, they go back to Sherwood Forest, and they just happen to meet Robin Hood as soon as they get out of the TARDIS. One thing I really liked, I'll start off, Capaldi. Again, staying dark, staying sarcastic. Maybe not even sarcastic, just like I said before, he's a prick. And it's awesome. He just doesn't like people. He's flippant. He's arrogant. He just thinks everybody's an idiot. And it's great. That makes perfect sense for a doctor, for me.
Yeah. That first scene where he talks about if anyone's had the urge to punch him before.
Oh, Robin Hood says, I laugh in their face, and he says, does anyone ever punch you in the face when you do that?
Well, it's a good thing I'm here then.
It's a good thing I'm here then.
Which is just amazing, because that kind of shows you how Capaldi's character's changed from the Matt Smith era of kind of going with everything and befriending everything to just being kind of abrupt and in your face and all that jazz.
I also really liked how the Doctor and Robin Hood didn't get along. He hated Robin Hood because he was laughing, and these merry men he thought were idiots. He didn't think any of it was real to begin with, because how could Robin Hood be real? He's just a legend. It was great. Capaldi, again, kills it every episode. I'm just liking him more and more and more. Moving on quickly to Clara. What did you think of Clara this episode, Dave?
Gorgeous in a red dress.
Oh, my God.
So gorgeous.
Tops. She just looked amazing. As soon as she got out of that TARDIS. Wow.
Yeah. And the chemistry between her and the guy who played Robin Hood, which I think was
Tom Riley was his name, yep.
Amazing. And Tom Riley did a fantastic job at Robin Hood, by the way.
He was great. I've seen a lot of iterations of Robin Hood. There was Kevin Costner back in the day. There was fucking that guy from Gladiator, Russell Crowe. He was good. He was all right. Nothing great. This guy was pretty solid, though. He was funny. He was dashing. He was a rogue. So that's cool. I liked him a lot as Robin Hood.
And Ben Miller, too, as the Sheriff of Nottingham was
really good. Just a solid, not really amazing, but just a solid bad guy. Just kind of gruff, played the role pretty well. I enjoyed it.
I did too.
Dave, what did you think? What's your favorite part of the episode? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it, maybe?
Favorite part of the episode was the archery contest. First it started as Robin Hood and the Sheriff of Nottingham, and then the Doctor comes in and just gets pissed off at the end and says, how did it go?
He said, this is silly, after they take a bunch of trick shots, and he blows up the target with this sonic screwdriver, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's just out of nowhere.
Which is my favorite moment as him as the Doctor so far, was just getting so upset that he just destroys something, just like...
And that, we don't see the Doctor do that ever. So this is a different Doctor. Some people out there, I think, don't like necessarily a darker Doctor. I've heard a little bit of maybe Stephen Moffat hate, that he's darkening them up. But something you have to remember is that I think the Doctor has to be modernized. You can't just have the Doctor be funny and weird and whimsical to the end of time. And the show is still whimsical. The show still has its hilarious moments. He challenges Robin Hood to a duel with a spoon.
And wins.
It was fucking hilarious. Incredible. It was so funny. But the show has to evolve to continue to gain fans and to keep people interested. We can't just have we can't have a Doctor that's just a bit of a clown forever. I mean, Matt Smith did it perfectly. Eccleston was really dashing. He was kind of like an Indiana Jones type.
But still kind of downer.
Right, but we got to have somebody who's maybe a little more serious. And we got to remember, this is the oldest Doctor. So if anyone's going to be serious and not like people and not have patience for people, it's going to be Capaldi's Doctor. Dave, you actually pointed out something to me really interesting about something to do with him in the TARDIS.
I think that the Doctor has finally mastered how to fly the TARDIS.
It only took him 2,000 fucking years, but he finally knows how to fly the fucking TARDIS.
If you watch him, he casually just strolls around, presses a couple buttons, and then throws the switch. Like, he's not running around anymore. He's not flying off the handles trying to press everything. He's just casually...
Not yet. They have not gotten accidentally lost, which how many of Matt Smith's, David Tennant's, and Eccleston's episodes started with like, oh yeah, we're here. And then they open the door and it's like, oh, I must have got that wrong by a couple hundred years. Or, oh, whoops, wrong planet. And they just, whatever, they just kind of float wrong. They didn't really mean to, but they just accidentally did. They missed their mark by a year or two or a planet or a whatever. And that was all fine for them. Not fucking happening with a Capaldi. No. He knows where he's going and he puts them exactly where they want to be. Which is pretty cool. Another thing that you pointed out to me that I didn't really notice is that every episode he seems to be doing math. At some point in the episode on his little chalkboard, which I just thought was kind of interesting. I didn't even notice it.
Yeah, which we saw in the first episode. I don't recall off the top of my head if we saw any math in the second episode, but it was definitely there in the third, for sure. One thing I did not like about this episode that kind of pissed me off was towards the end when he's trying to get the gold construct to get the engines to take off, and he fires the gold arrow that has the exact amount of gold that they need to reach the atmosphere, hits the side perfectly, and then they just kind of take off. Slightly cheesy.
Okay, the thing that kills me is Robin Hood and the sheriff have this epic battle over the pot of molten gold.
Yeah.
He knocks the sheriff into the pot of molten gold. The ship takes off. Why the fuck did they not just use the giant pot of molten gold that's sitting there to finish the engines? If one little arrow was enough to get them out of the stratosphere, why didn't that fucking huge pot of molten gold come into play? They're robots. You think they would have thought this out in some way, shape, or form. But no. But you know what? For me, that's a small thing. It's not a huge idea, but I agree. That small arrow. But that does bring up another hilarious point from Capaldi, which is Capaldi has the golden arrow and the bow, and he hands it to Robin Hood to take the shot at the ship, and Robin Hood says, "It has to be you. My arm's hurt." And Capaldi goes to take the shot, and he says, "I can't do it." And they said, "Well, you were the greatest." And he said, "I cheated. I installed a homing beacon to hit the target." Which was fucking so funny that he cheated to beat Robin Hood. And that whole thing with he's trying to outdo Robin Hood and like they can't get along. And that scene where they're locked up together with Clara. And the guard was hiding outside the cell, and he's like, "I was told to wait here to see who the ringleader is," and he takes Clara away because she's the only level-headed one. And the doctor, he's the oldest doctor. He kind of acts like a fucking child.
Yeah.
He's so childish and immature, but he's very smart and has an idea. Actually, he has less of a plan more than I find that Smith and Tennant ever did.
I find that Smith always had a plan, and it always worked out, where this doctor kind of just...
But Smith always seemed like he was making it up as he went along. Capaldi, in this episode anyway, he just kind of seemed like he was just... Like, he didn't really know what to do. He just, like... It just happened to work out for him. I don't know. Maybe that was just me, but... A great episode. There was almost nothing I didn't like about it. Like you said, one of my favorite points, my favorite part really was that first moment when he walks out of the TARDIS and he meets Robin Hood, and they have a fight with a spoon against a sword. I thought was just great. And oh my good God, was Clara absolutely gorgeous in her period piece outfit.
Yes.
She is fastly becoming more likable. I didn't like her through I'll rephrase. I did like her. I didn't think she was great, and maybe that was just my prejudice after Amy Pond, who I really enjoyed a lot. So I thought she had a really interesting entrance as the Impossible Girl, and I never really got super on her side or involved with her. But even just after 3 episodes this season, and especially in this one, I'm just liking her more and more and more and more. I think she's just killing it, and she's beautiful in every scene she's in. She's fantastic. Her character's super likable. Jenna Coleman, wonderful actress, is doing a really good job.
Let's kind of touch on a subject that I kind of thought was interesting, that was very subtle, was the planet that the robots were heading to.
Now, I know exactly what you're talking about, Dave, because as soon as I saw that, I did a little, and I was like, oh, here it is again. What was it?
Called Paradise. And where was the robot? Sorry, continue. I might have screwed up the fact. Go on.
It's the Promised Land.
The Promised
It's
Land.
the Promised Land.
Okay.
Me and Dave have had quite a few bevs right now, but it's okay. It's called the Promised Land. That's where they're going. The castle has disguised itself as a ship, and the Doctor's looking on their mainframe computer and seeing that was its original destination was the Promised Land, which, if I'm not mistaken, is exactly where the android was going from the first episode.
Yep.
And now another thing that we didn't see this episode was fucking Missy and Heaven.
Yep.
No sign of it. And I just was waiting. That second the sheriff fell in the gold, I was waiting to get a scene with the sheriff and Missy in Heaven. And I'm kind of putting together a theory in my head a little bit that whoever Missy is, I'm not exactly sure yet. I've thought of my own theories. I've heard a million theories off of the internet. Whatever she is, I feel like she might be collecting the Doctor's enemies or people that the Doctor has wronged, and she might use them. She might be trying to use those against him at some point in the future. That's kind of what I'm thinking. She's got the android. She's got
But
the
you
girl.
can't say that about the girl because she was trying to help the Doctor when she defended them all to let herself sacrifice.
Maybe she's jaded. She had to die when no one else did to make the plan work. Why didn't the Doctor sacrifice himself? Why didn't Clara? Why are they more important than that human life is?
Then why would Missy take the self-sacrificing girl over?
I don't know. That's it. That's because I thought she would take the sheriff. I was almost positive she would take the sheriff because, like, of course he'd be an enemy of the Doctor, or he'd have some ill will against the Doctor. But maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're wrong about Missy. Maybe Missy isn't a bad guy. The android, maybe he convinced the android. This is my theory. A lot of people say, like, he pushed him, he convinced him, the android did it by himself. I think in the first episode, I think he convinced the android to end his long life and, to be done with it. And I think he convinced him to jump off that little airship. He convinced that girl that it was for the better of everyone. He didn't even really convince her. She sort of volunteered, I think, because she just saw that the Doctor had the right plan. Maybe Missy's not a bad guy. Maybe Missy is taking people that the Doctor has spared or saved or helped in some way, and she's saving them from death.
I guess we'll have to watch with time. I don't think we're going to find out anytime soon. Maybe.
I think Moffat's going to pepper this throughout the entire season, though. It's going to be like The Silence. It's going to be the name of the Doctor. We're going to get bits and pieces of the Promised Land, of Heaven, of Missy, leading throughout everything, all the way to the end. What do you think about it?
I completely agree. Do you have any quotes that you like from this episode? I know that there was a lot that you got really excited about.
Oh, there was a lot of really funny stuff that the Doctor said throughout it. Again, I was kind of thinking about when I watched it, like David Tennant had Allons-y, and Matt Smith had Geronimo, and I think Capaldi's going to have Puddinghead. He calls everybody Puddinghead. He said it in every episode. And it's fucking funny. Every time he says Puddinghead or calls somebody a Puddinghead, and the first thing he said, he's like, "You planet of Puddingheads." I thought it was hilarious. It was just so funny, like Puddingheads.
And there's no ultimate insult than Puddinghead. And it's a very...
No, it's just a kooky Doctor thing to say, but it works perfectly.
Hilarious remark, too. I personally liked as I said, the quote where he blows up the target, where he says, "Enough of this."
But yeah, he says, "This is silly."
This is silly.
And blows it up. Yeah, that was pretty good.
I really liked the one where him and Robin Hood are talking towards the end, and Robin tries to say that Clara thinks that he's his hero, he's her hero, and he says, "I'm not a hero." I thought that was really cool.
I do like that because Robin Hood said, like, he says, "Is it true in the future that I'm forgotten as a real man and I'm just remembered as a legend?" And the Doctor says, "Yes. I'm afraid it is." And then Robin Hood says something along the lines of, like, I think he says, like, history's a burden, but, like, stories make us fly, which I loved. I don't know if that's a real thing out of the book. Never read the book. No clue. I'm assuming that they used some lines out of the book. Could be wrong. Could be right. I'm probably right. I usually am. If anybody has a problem with that, I don't care. It was great, though. It was really a poignant line. I thought that I think the Doctor maybe used to think of himself that way, and now he doesn't know if
he's a hero or not.
If he's a hero, maybe he doesn't think of himself like a hero at all. He's just a man doing things. He doesn't think of himself as a good guy. And I like right after he said that, he said, I think the Doctor was talking about how he was having trouble believing that Robin Hood is a legend and Robin Hood is a hero. And Hood replies by saying, is it difficult that a man born into wealth and station would find the plight of the underprivileged man, too much to bear? And the doctor says no, kind of as Robin Hood's speaking, and then, Robin Hood continues with, until one night he steals the TARDIS to fly among the stars and fight the good fight, or something along those lines. And that whole scene just, captured me. I was like, that's so perfect, because, and the doctor doesn't think of himself like that at all. You can see it in Capaldi's face. He almost looks confused when they're having that conversation. He just does not think of himself as a hero and somebody who's out to do right. And Robin Hood doesn't either, but the point of Robin Hood I think he's making is that it's not about being a hero. It's that about you're out to do something right, and you know that you're out to do something right. And I don't think Capaldi thinks of himself like that at all.
Exactly.
What do you think of the Doctor so far, Dave? The Doctor, we've talked a lot about the Doctor. Fuck that. What do you think about Clara's arc so far from the start of this season? What do you think about maybe some of the supporting characters a little bit? Do you think maybe there are some that you didn't like, some that you hope to see more? We touched on Missy, we touched on Clara. What else?
I was really hoping to see Danny Pink again this episode, because I thought he did a really great performance in the last episode. Sorry, I can't remember the actor's name off the top of my head, but...
Danny Pink. I know who you mean. Yeah. He was great.
Amazing. Yeah.
Really funny. And I liked him because I felt like it was like Rory to Amy Pond, and Danny Pink might become like that for Clara, like something else besides the Doctor for her to focus on, which is nice, because really she, through all of Matt Smith, she didn't have anything besides the Doctor really to deal with.
But I kind of feel like maybe Clara, even though she's kind of agreed to help the Doctor, that there's going to come a breaking point in this season where either Capaldi can't live up to the hero that she thinks that he's being, and I think she's going to leave him. Whether she goes and hangs out with Danny Pink and...
Here's a point. It was a small thing in the episode is they get separated. At a certain point, Clara ends up with Robin Hood. The Doctor ends up on his own with the Sheriff. And they kind of get reunited. And before the Doctor says anything to anyone or thinks anything, he asks Claire, "Are you all right?" And he says it perfectly honestly, and I think he meant it a lot. And I think it's interesting because I don't really think he cares about many other people. It's not that he doesn't care at all, but he doesn't have the patience for other people enough to care about them. But he does care about Clara. And maybe he cares about her, I think, more in the way that he feels responsible for her. Like, he doesn't want her to get hurt because he's... For Capaldi's Doctor, Clara is the only thing tying him to being human, more so than some of the other Doctors almost. And I think he really does care about her, and he doesn't want her to be hurt or lost or anything. And I think maybe next, she's a very strong companion. She can take care of herself.
Well, we've seen what happens to Matt Smith and David Tennant when they don't have a companion to guide them or be with them. I'd really like to see what happens when Capaldi doesn't have somebody to back him up or to be by his side. Because I've got a really good feeling that Clara's probably going to leave at the end of this episode, personally. I don't know for what cause.
The end of this season.
The end of the season, sorry. But I feel like she is going to leave. At some point.
I think Clara will be here till the end of the season. I don't think she's going anywhere anytime soon. But as we've normally seen it, a companion that transitions over with a Doctor usually will leave within about a season.
Season or two, yeah.
And then they will usually... I'm actually very interested to see if they find who the next companion will be. As much as I'm actually, funny enough, getting more on Clara's side now and liking her a lot more and seeing her in every episode, it'll be really cool to see what they're going to pull out of their hat with this new Doctor and this new season. Just to touch upon it really quickly, the little trailer at the end for next week's episode
looks terrifying.
Yeah,
that's all I can say.
What the fuck? There's kids hiding under a bed. His little speech that he gives, the Doctor's little monologue that he gives there during the trailer.
That was all rhymes, yeah.
It looks great. I have no idea what it's about, but it looks fucking awesome.
Haven't seen that.
I feel like this is just going to happen. We were kind of we liked the first episode, but we weren't sold maybe 100%, or at least I wasn't. I was halfway there. The second episode, we both, I think, loved. This episode, I think I liked even more.
Yep.
I'm sure you did probably too a little bit. And I feel like, maybe every episode we're almost going to get into this like habit of saying, oh my God, I love this episode. I love this episode. Capaldi was great. Clara's getting better. And we're just going to start fangirling because Capaldi is fucking killing it. Clara's killing it. I should say Jenna Coleman because she's really killing it as the actor. The supporting cast are all great. And Moffat's doing a good job.
Yeah, and you got to give a shout out to Mark Gatness, who wrote the episode.
Oh, he did a fucking awesome.
Amazing
he did a fantastic job. Yeah, he did a really great job with that episode. It was the first one where they actually go into the past, and it's a little bit more whimsical and not quite so serious. It was great. It was a good episode.
Yeah. Next episode's called Listen, by the way.
Listen, I mentioned that, Dave, but it's time to have more drinks, I think.
Yes.
So, as always, this has been your handsome Who fans, Aaron and Dave from The Cool Story Show. Please remember to go to our Facebook page. Like if you don't mind listening to us gab about Who every week. And as always, listen to our other podcasts on our YouTube page. They're goddamn hilarious. Thank you for listening.
I'm on the tweets, Dave Meyer 7.
You can find me at acorbett48. Remember to follow The Cool Story Show on Twitter as well. And we'll hit you back next week with Listen. Cool Story Show's done.
Out.